All right, everybody, welcome to another episode of the Sporadic Gaming Podcast. I am Fizz, or D, and this is a new face to the podcast. This is my friend Rhina. Go ahead and say hi.
Hey everyone, what's going on? My name is Rhina, or Rhina, however you guys prefer it.
I think
And
I'll stick with Rhina, yeah.
the host of this podcast is holding me at gunpoint
Yeah,
to do this.
yeah, it's true. You can't see it, but there's like four. That's why he doesn't have his camera turned on to the people viewing the video for him. He doesn't have his camera turned on because what you would see if he had his camera on would be four assassins behind him holding various weaponry, comedically large firearms and swords just pointed right at him. So he is trapped, but he will be joining us today, and we will be talking about a bunch of cool, fun things. This week has actually been kind of crazy. So I know we were off last week, but there wasn't anything too crazy to cover last week. So we're back and we're here to talk about all the fun things. But since this is a co-host that you guys haven't met yet, I'm gonna let him go first, do some brief introductions. But also, I want to hear what you've been playing because that's kind of a tradition here. We talk about what we've been playing for the last couple weeks. So you go ahead and take it away, my friend.
Alright, so basically I'm just a normal gamer, been gaming since I was a wee lad. The first game I ever played was the original Spider-Man movie game on the Xbox down in my basement where my brother was staying. And from there I just loved video games. And what I've been playing this week is I've just been playing lots of Yakuza 0, a bit of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, with the occasional Fortnite with my friends.
Nice, nice. Yeah, I hear that you weren't too pleased with the added content in Yakuza Zero.
Yeah, it's just, I like the content, but it just doesn't have a purpose. All it does is just kind of retcons certain deaths that happened in the game, and
Ooh,
that's literally it
that's kind
so
of
far from
unfortunate.
what I've played.
How far in are you?
And I just finished chapter 13. I am entering chapter 14.
Out of
And there's 17 chapters
so
total.
okay, yeah. So you're a pretty decent chunk through. Okay.
But I've also finished Yakuza 0 before
Mm-hmm.
on PC, and it's a phenomenal game. I highly recommend everyone to go out and play the Yakuza series. They are just phenomenal games.
Absolutely. Yeah, I need to finish the entire series. So far, I've actually only played 7 and 8. So I need to go back and play
Did you
through
like those
the
games?
rest. I did. Yeah, I know 7 especially is super good.
Yeah, it's just
I haven't beat them, but I have played
uh
large chunks of them. They're long, okay, forgive me. But I did really like them. Everyone's been telling me for the last 15 years, like you gotta play. So it's on my list. I mean, there's so many series I need to like actually sit down and get into. Xenoblade is another huge one. I literally own every game in the series on my shelf, and I'm not even. I've maybe touched Xenoblade 2 like twice. So like that's another one. Yeah, Yakuza, Xenoblade. There's a few others that I like. No, I have to get into, but I need to like dedicate time. You know what I mean? Like I got to set aside time. I got to actually like that is a conscious decision to start a series that big. But I'm going to. I will do it. I
that's
promise.
how I feel with Zelda is after
Yeah,
Tears of the Kingdom I can go back and play as many of the games as I can just because Tears of the Kingdom has been a wonderful experience so far.
yeah, absolutely.
Like my only previous Zelda game was Breath of the Wild, which I never fully completed. I got maybe
Hmm.
5 hours in. So I want to go back and play all the Zelda games.
Certainly, certainly. I think knowing you and knowing your taste, I think you're gonna love Wind Waker. So I will. I will recommend that one. That's one of my favorites for sure.
I would love to go get that physically for my GameCube,
Yeah,
but I
I've
really
got a
don't feel
copy on
like
my shelf too.
giving up an arm and a leg.
Yeah, I don't think they're that bad. I think they're like 60 bucks, 60, 70 bucks. About the
Let
same as
me actually
Smash. So,
let me see how much you're selling for on eBay.
yeah, check cuz now I'm curious. And while you're looking, I'll go ahead and tell the audience what I've been playing. I'm still playing Expedition 33, so I'm sorry. I'm not going to shut up about this game. It's brilliant. But I'm playing Expedition 33. I've been playing Mario Kart World, obviously, Switch 2, brand new console. I'm spending quite a bit of time on that. Um, and I've also been playing, I mean, just a little bit of like other random games off PS Plus, or just like games I had on my PC. Still been playing like Ready or Not, Call of Duty, that kind of stuff. But this week has been a little bit less busy for like playing games and more like I spent a lot of time with my family. That's actually why there was no episode last week. I was at a concert, Pierce the Veil and Sleeping with Sirens with my brother, my mom, and my sisters. I spent like a whole week down with them, just kind of hanging out, and like work and stuff. So I've actually been busy touching grass this week. So unfortunately, haven't had too much time to play games. But that's pretty much that's pretty much it. Just mostly like when I have time to play a game, it's Expedition 33. I'm making some pretty decent progress on Act Two, and it is yeah no phenomenal phenomenal.
I
Rhina,
can back that up. Is
yeah
I only a tiny bit into Act Two. I just haven't been able to play just because A, my PC needs a proper clean
yeah I
before I
heard
set it
that.
on fire, and B, it's just Act One was painful.
Yeah, Act One
I just
killed me.
haven't
I had
been
to
able
take a
to.
break. I literally had to stop playing because it was so upsetting. I just couldn't. I couldn't do it. I couldn't keep going. I had to stop. But it's worth it. Act Two's been really good so far. Some really like I think boss fight wise, like Act Two has some insane bosses. Act One doesn't have like any really crazy memorable bosses, but Act Two has had multiple. So notable step up in that regard.
It's a game where if it doesn't win Game of the Year, I will actually
Oh
be
yeah.
surprised.
Oh
Because
yeah.
while games like Mario Kart World
All
are
right.
fantastic, nothing is. There hasn't been a conversation around the game like Expedition 33 since,
It's
in my opinion, Baldur's Gate 3.
yeah probably I was gonna even say since like Elden Ring, but yeah Baldur's Gate yeah I think it's kind of I think it's gonna win, but what even what even is coming out this year that like could hold a candle to it? Like I know Mario Kart got good reviews, but not that good. You know what I mean? Like sitting in like the high 80s, I believe, on like Metacritic and stuff. So I don't think that's gonna like. I mean, it'll maybe be nominated, but like out of all the games that have been announced, obviously there's still more games that haven't been announced yet. But like out of all the games that have been announced, what do you think is gonna be like in that six in the sixth games of the year conversation?
So I would say Expedition 33 is 100% one of
Yeah,
them,
I
along with
agree,
Mario Kart.
100%.
Mario
I don't
Kart's
know.
definitely one of them.
I don't know about Mario Kart. I don't know if that's gonna make it that because we also have to consider that there's you know, well here I'm sorry. You go ahead. Continue your list.
So Donkey Kong Bonanza, I think, has a good shot.
I would guess that too. Yeah.
With how much Jeff Keighley loves Kojima, I will be shocked if Death Stranding 2 isn't
It'll be
there.
there. It'll be there. That's my other 100% given game. Yeah.
And Ghost of Yotai, I think, has a chance.
I think so too. Especially given how crazy successful the first game was. I think if it's anything near that level of quality, it'll at the very least be nominated. You got one
And
more.
then I think the sixth final game, I'm trying to decide. I'm going to give two predictions. I think it's either going to be the Gex trilogy
Yep.
or
Obviously.
the greatest game of all time, Mind's Eye.
We'll talk about Mind's Eye again here in a little bit, but my actual prediction, I think you're kind of onto something. I think that list is probably what it's going to end up being. I think Monster Hunter Wilds will probably be on there as well. Um, but yeah, I'd say pretty much that whole list, and then instead of a joke sixth pick, I'd say probably Monster Hunter Wilds. I think
I
depending
fully agree.
on how some other games perform this year, though, we could see like some other games sneak up on that list, or like maybe like Metroid Prime 4 if that ends up being like super crazy good, or I don't know, who
I forgot
knows,
that game's
right?
releasing.
Yeah, I know, right? It's crazy how it doesn't feel real yet. But who knows?
I, I,
Maybe there will be, or maybe one of these like other companies is going to surprise us with like some random out of the nowhere, late release that like blows us all away. Like who really knows? But as of right now, we're recording this at the beginning of summer. Um, not even it's not even summer yet, so like we still have a long way to go. But like yeah, late June when we're recording this, and I think those are probably my six picks for right now. So we'll see how it goes. I'm hoping. I mean, I don't even think it's like it's like a 100 to 1 chance that like Expedition 33 doesn't win Game of the Year. It deserves it.
Yeah, but also my actual sixth pick is Elden Ring Night Rain. Not
Yeah,
because it's good, but just because
I don't know.
the last two Elden Ring games have been nominated. I will be shocked. Or I'll be 50-50 if it doesn't get nominated because I don't think it deserves it from
Well,
just because it's missing like
it got obliterated in reviews. So like, the people who like nominate the games for Game of the Year are pretty much the same critics who score for like Metacritic and stuff. So if the critics aren't feeling it, it's usually a good sign of like where it's going to end up on the end of year stuff. But that's not always the case. I mean, Spider-Man 2 scored a 90 and I don't think they won a single award, did they? I mean, they were nominated, but I don't think they won anything. So
and
doesn't
I'll be on
always
the hot
mean.
take. I'll be on the hot take saying I don't think it deserved any awards. I am
You
a
can
Spider-Man
say
2 disliker.
you can say whatever you want about Spider-Man 2, but Yuri Lowenthal absolutely deserved his nomination for best vocal
Oh
performance.
yeah, he did have.
I do still think that Ben Starr should have won, but
I do think Ben Starr should have
yeah.
won, but I'm not mad that Asterion won.
I've
And then
played Baldur's
also,
Gate 3 and I'm telling you, Ben Starr should have won. And I mean no
yeah, I'll,
disrespect, no hate at all, because Asterian's voice actor, whose name is escaping me right now, he absolutely killed it as well. But like I don't, again, no disrespect, I don't even necessarily think his was the best performance in that game. So I was a little confused as to why he was nominated in that spot over maybe some other people from that game that I thought deserved it more. But I think out of that list, I'd probably put him third, Yuri Lowenthal second, and then Ben Starr first. He absolutely ate up that role.
I
So
agree. And then also back to what we were saying about Zelda Wind Waker. The
yeah,
complete box. This isn't sold. This is what's listed.
yeah.
132 for complete box.
Ooh,
68 not complete in box.
okay. I might have been a little off
140
then.
in box. Complete box black label. 90 complete in box. So
Okay,
that's
90's not bad. There's a little bit of a variance to it, but okay. So it's in the low hundreds. I thought it was less than that. Last time I was looking, which was a while ago because I already have one, but last time I was looking, they were around like the $60 to $80 range. So it must have gone up since then. I apologize. Well, sucks
yeah,
to
the
suck,
retro
Rena.
gaming market. Yeah, it's hard being trying to be a retro
Yeah,
game collector.
yeah, it
It's hard
is.
out there.
It is. Yeah, I mean, my collection, I'm impressed with it, but even then, like some of these game prices, like if I were to try to buy the games again now, I just couldn't afford some of these things. And you know how much I spend on retro games. Like you were there, so yeah.
You have the greatest piece of gaming history in your
I
collection.
do, I do. We've somehow managed to bring up my sealed graded copy of Concord like 3 podcast episodes in a row. We'll have to talk about that in detail sometime. You're right. That is ridiculous. Unfortunately, my Concord stocks have lowered a bit. But I'm hoping that over time, like the long run, like it becomes more of a impressive collector's piece. But like right now, you can actually buy one for like 3/4 of what I paid for mine. So
But to be
it
fair,
is what it
yours is
is.
the best quality in the world.
Yeah, it's tied for the best quality version of the game. Yeah, I couldn't just get Concord. I had to get it graded, sealed at the highest level quality physically possible because it's so gosh dang funny. But anyways, that's a whole thing. We will tell that story another day. For now,
All I could say is I'm the one who bullied him into
yeah,
getting it.
yeah, he did. He I don't know if bullied's the right word. Actually, no, that's definitely the right word. That is exactly how I would describe that event. But yeah, he really pushed me over the edge on that one. But I wanted it. It's a piece of gaming history. Okay, it's like I feel so strongly about that game. You have no idea.
I mean,
So
it might be tied with a new game that I think we're about to be talking about soon.
yeah, you want to get us started on this one because this one's rough, guys.
Uh, so, speaking of biggest gaming flops, I think it's time we talk about Mind's Eye.
where to even begin on this game. I don't even this is the kind of game that like the story of how it got made and what is happening to it gets like more interesting the further you dig.
Yeah, it is. Supposedly, let me look this up.
Yeah.
It was made by the company that made the game was made by a former Rockstar developer or producer.
Yeah, I don't
Don't quote me.
you can fact check this right now if you want to look it up, Rena. But I believe it was like the co-head or co-founder of Rockstar, or something like some high up guy at Rockstar left and made this
Just the
studio.
producer.
So yeah, so a high level Rockstar producer left Rockstar, made this studio, and was like touting this game off as like the greatest thing since sliced bread. I think
It
this
was
was like the
being marketed.
closer. Wasn't this the closing announcement of one of the game Jeff Keighley shows? Was it the Game Awards or the Summer Games Fest or something? Or maybe it wasn't the closing
I
announcement, but it was announced at like a high level show, and they were like, "Yes, this is like a huge next level thing." Spoilers. It wasn't that at all.
It's like the epitome of that meme. I hope you're hungry for nothing. Because it was being
it's yeah,
touted as like a GTA killer. That was what it was being advertised as.
and it is so bad and buggy and broken, and I hate to like, because here's the thing, I love to celebrate art and celebrate developers work, but like I have no idea how this game got made. It's like cyberpunk launch levels of bad, to the point where even Sony is like already like, Sony doesn't do refunds and they're doing refunds just like they did with Cyberpunk. So clearly something went wrong. And then like it's crazy because then like the game launches and it gets obliterated. And before launch, like I think like the day or two before, like one of the head people at the studio leaves, and then like all sorts of pandemonium starts happening, and it's just like it's crazy. It's just crazy. You don't see these high profile failures that often, but I feel like lately, like we're starting to see like more of them, and I think it's because honestly, my interpretation of this is I think budgets have just gone so out of hand that like this game probably just was too like ambitious for them to like foreseeably like actually do, and then they just spent so much money they couldn't back out. Like, what are you gonna do when you've dropped that much money on a project? You're just gonna just like not release it? Like, what is this, Warner Brothers? Like, no, you gotta kind of just see it through. But I feel pretty bad for the studio right now because they are this week's punching bag, and the internet is not being very nice about it. So hopefully, they're able to keep their heads down and do what they need to do. I mean, I hope honestly what they do is that they just go and work on the game and fix it, and we get another Cyberpunk redemption story, because that's kind of what everyone's comparing this to right now, is Cyberpunk. However, and I will say this as gently as I can, Cyberpunk had an interesting world and characters, and a lot of really cool combat mechanics and a lot of really ambitious world design. This game is lacking in all of that. So, the saying, you know, about polishing turds and things like that. I do feel that maybe that is more applicable in this situation, but we will see. Maybe, who knows? Maybe this game will become like the next thing since sliced bread. I'm not holding my breath, but at the very least, I do think the developers should be able to, um, you know, make something out of this. They worked hard on it, and I don't want to see them all lose their jobs over something like this. I'd rather they just, maybe fix it up and make it work. Hot take? I don't know. I don't know how you feel about that, but
So I agree with you on some points, but not on some. I don't think it's fair to compare this to Cyberpunk because it's like you
yeah,
said, is Cyberpunk launched horribly, but underneath all that, there was a shining gem that
yeah.
would later on be, in my opinion, it's in my Cyberpunk is in my top three favorite video games of all time.
Cyberpunk is
And I feel like
amazing.
Phantom Liberty was CDPR's apology. Like, we're sorry about the
Yeah.
launch. Here's a badass expansion that, in my opinion, felt like Cyberpunk 2. Like, it felt like its
Well,
own game.
the patch that released alongside Phantom Liberty was called the 2.0 patch. So like, yeah, it kind of was
Mhm.
Cyberpunk 2. Like they put a lot of work in, and they even reworked systems that weren't working, because Cyberpunk did have a lot of gameplay issues, but they actually took the time to go in and fix that, and that is applause worthy. I don't
Yeah,
like the culture that has started to pop up around games, the whole release it broken, fix it later trend. But I would rather, and this is gonna sound horrible, but I would rather a game get the chance to fix itself than just be abandoned. Like what's the alternative? Is Cyberpunk 2077 releases and it's buggy and horrible, and the devs just move on to Witcher 4. Sorry, I almost said Witcher 3. Devs move on to Witcher 4, and then we just never get a working game. Like you just said it right now, Cyberpunk is one of your favorite games ever made. So the only way we could have got to that point is if they put the time in to fix it up and make it something special. And think I think most games deserve that chance.
yeah, I think they deserve that chance, but in my opinion, and to correct what you said, it wasn't just one head person to build a Rocket Boy, it's actually two.
Oh,
And he
okay.
left the
So
weakest one
so
alone.
yeah, there you go.
But all that to say is, I think they were actually intentionally misleading people in the marketing. Actually, hold on, let me rephrase.
Yeah,
There was no marketing because
I
aside from the
feel
stuff,
the initial trailer, and then that was it. Really, I didn't hear about the game until it was out.
I didn't even hear about it till a few days later, where I was just scrolling through YouTube trying to find something to eat with my food, and I just see a YouTuber, Moist Critical,
That's the yep. Oh
uploads
my god,
a
I was gonna say that's literally the first. I didn't know the game was out. I saw Charlie's upload, and I was like, wait, Mind's Eye's out. And then I watched his stream recap, and it made me sad.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that he set the world record for Shore's review. With the video, he's like, "No, it isn't."
Yeah, yeah. Off
But
topic, but I love Charlie. So
yeah, he's a good YouTuber. Not gonna say a good person just because I don't know him as
yeah,
a
yeah, oh
person,
yeah, yeah.
and
No, I just like love his content. I can't really speak for him as guy, but
yeah. But also, what is that? Mindset I was gonna say. Oh yeah, I've been digging deeper into it,
mm-hmm.
and I've been watching gameplay. And there's this one YouTuber, Kev Do It. Have you heard of him?
I have not.
He's one of the only YouTubers who's given a positive review, and he's catching major flack because in his positive review, it shows he's sponsored by Mind's Eye.
Oh, okay. I see. I was about to go on the defensive right now. I was about to be like, I was about to get on my soapbox and be like, I hate it when people can't take any sort of like counterculture opinion. But no, no, yeah, that's if he's sponsored, then there you go. He's just probably getting paid to say
Yep.
nice things.
And then, and
Unfortunate.
then he's in the comments saying, maybe I was one of the only people who actually had a fun time, didn't get all these issues. And it's just like, dude, even if you had a fun time, there's still objective flaws. Like the gameplay
Yeah,
is
yeah,
mediocre at best. The story isn't that good. The they they're the
yeah.
first game I've seen in my lifetime to be advertised as an open world, not launch with an open world, add the open world later in the patch.
That is a little weird. I will say though, and there is something to be said about enjoying a game in spite of those issues, right? Like I will be the first to come to the defense of like 7 out of 10 video games. Okay, like there are some really really fun mid games out there, and issues aside, like I've had a ton of fun with games like Perfect Dark Zero, right? I come to that game's defense all the time. One of my all-time favorites. That game is objectively terrible in a lot of ways, but also it does a lot of really interesting things, a lot of really fun things that no other game has done since. So like for me, it's worth the trade-off, right? And I don't like the idea, and yeah, screw it, I'm getting on my soapbox. I don't like the idea of like whenever a game is the current like hot button issue or like fun punching bag. I don't like the idea of anytime anybody comes to the defense of that, those people getting mocked. Obviously, we saw it with Concord a ton, and like yeah, Concord was a mess, but like I have a friend, D Guns. He loved Concord, and like it sucks that he's never going to be able to play it anymore. You know what I mean? Like that does suck. And anytime he talks about how much he enjoyed the game, he gets flack for it, and I don't like that. That makes me upset. However, yeah, no, if he was just sponsored, that leads to a lot of questions. So That's not great. But yeah, if he was just like a fan, like if anyone actually is out there enjoying Mind's Eye, all the more power to you.
Yeah,
But yeah, if you're like
I
reviewing and like ignoring criticism and like fighting in the comments and stuff like that's let's not do that. Especially if you're sponsored. Come on, get out of here with that.
like when you have spots like they were literally canceling sponsored streams. And then have you seen that Dark Viper clip where he's trying to promote the
Mm-mm.
game, but he's just laughing his ass off?
Oh, I know who Dark Viper is, but I think I saw a clip. Didn't he like try to play Mind's Eye and then he played something else instead for like 6 hours? Was that
Uh,
him or was
I
that somebody
haven't seen the
else?
full stream. The
Yeah,
only
I don't
clip
I
I
don't I
know
didn't
is
watch I don't watch like the full streams or anything. I saw a clip and maybe this wasn't him, but of a sponsored Mind's Eye streamer like played the game for like 20 minutes. And then he was like, "Nope," and then just played something else for like 6 hours. I don't remember who it was, but that was pretty funny. But
uh,
yeah, so
uh,
Mind's Eye, it's it's a thing. I'm like I said, I'm hoping the devs aren't feeling too bad right now. And maybe they can
yeah,
recover and maybe make a different game. Maybe I don't know, but this was not it.
I don't think I don't think they're recovering because the I think some of the top heads at Build a Rocket Boy have literally gone out on record saying before the game launched, all the haters were paid by Rockstar.
Okay, yeah, no, there might not be a future here. That's unfortunate. I don't know.
Because I know
I don't
for
know.
me personally, I just don't want to support a company who can't
Yeah,
take criticism and is
it's pretty
trying to
icky.
say all the reviews were bought or bought like paid for and then they're botted.
Yeah.
That's why I have a lot of respect for CDPR. When Cyberpunk launched in the state days, they owned up to it. They didn't make any excuses. In fact, there's the one
For the
video where
most
the guy
part.
said, "Please don't go after these talented developers. We're the ones responsible." They
Yeah.
took genuine responsibility and accountability. I respect that.
Yeah, you never want to find yourself being like the Days Gone director cuz that's
Or
not great.
yeah, or you don't want to be like the day before.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Or the day before. A lot of bad games that have day in the title, and a lot of bad games have infinite in the title. That's another curse. Don't name your game blank infinite. Like
How about Infinite Days?
yeah, infinite days. Yeah. No, like the only good game with infinite in the title that I can think of off the top of my head is like BioShock Infinite, and even that is very controversial. So I don't know. But we'll drop this topic here because there's so much we could get into with that. But Mind's Eye, it's just one of those weird like there's so much there. Like it's one of those stories that just like the more you dig, the juicier it gets, and it just it's a whole thing. But there's some other cool things that have been going on this week, and I mean, one of those things is, I mean, just the Nintendo Switch 2 in general. It's been a pretty big success. Nintendo released that it's the fastest selling Nintendo console of all time, which, granted, small time frame, but still, like, yeah, they hit like 3.5 million units sold in just a couple days. I mean, usually it takes kind of a little chunk of time to get numbers like that. I think they're on track to hit 10 million if they're able to keep up with demand, by the end of the year. So that is pretty nuts. If those numbers are as we're expecting them to be, given math, if they can hit 10 million by the year, like that's crazy. I think their biggest hurdle right now though is just meeting demand, which is weird. There was so much supply at the beginning. Um, Pre-orders were really easy to get. You could just walk into any store and buy one, walk in any store and buy one off the shelves. And then now it seems like maybe now that Mario Kart World is out and it's like reviewing so well, maybe that is like spurring people to like go and buy it, or maybe people are seeing, like all the Switch 1 games that got updated, or maybe people are really hyped about Donkey Kong. I don't know, but whatever's going on right now, the Switch 2 hype actually took off and now it's hard to get one. So, I don't know. I don't know. But I've been enjoying my Switch too. Again, mostly I've just been playing Switch 1 games and Mario Kart World on mine, so I don't have a huge like, you know, experience with it so far, but I've been enjoying Mario Kart. I have issues with it, but I think it's a good game. What about you though, Rina? You've been playing the Switch 2 a lot or
Yeah, so I'm gonna go back to your pre-order thing. First things first.
Yeah.
You never want to play Mario Kart with me. I'm offended. I'm
I
I'm on. I'm just waiting for you to DM
We
me.
were doing Mario Kart Mondays, and then I started working Mondays, so we'll have to change the day. But we will absolutely go back to playing Mario Kart, I promise.
How can we go back if we've never done this?
You weren't there doesn't mean I wasn't still playing Mario Kart with people, okay? I'm sorry, but look at the event
But
tab.
all I have to say is, my pre-order story for the Switch 2 is I was trying to not talk myself out of it. I was trying to talk myself out of it because I'm a huge Steam Deck fanboy.
Yeah,
Like I
I am too.
am very biased towards the Steam Deck. But then around 7 o'clock Eastern, 1 hour before a GameStop closes, I start calling around, see if they have any pre-orders left. I called two within a 20-minute drive from me, didn't have any. So me and a family member, we drove 40 minutes to go to a GameStop, and we get in there, and there's one Switch 2 pre-order left. For the basic bundle, I was able to pre-order that, Mario Kart, and then Yakuza 0.
Yeah.
Even funnier is 2 minutes after we got there, a guy who drove an hour and a half to get that pre-order arrived. I
Yikes.
still feel bad. If he's watching this, I'm so sorry, dude.
Yeah. No, when I went to pre-order, I'm telling you, I don't know. I think there was in my experience anyways, there was tons of supply. Like I went and pre-ordered and I was like number 20 something and they had 60 like pre-orders open. So like there was 40 when I left, and then on launch day like they still had like in the back like plenty of Switch 2s. But then like in the following weeks like all the supply got burnt out and now no one's got any Switches. People are literally robbing trucks, like robbing robbing delivery trucks with Switch 2s on them just to get one, which is crazy by the way, but that's what it does. It just goes to show, like people keep saying that, like the console industry is dead or dying or whatever, but like it clearly isn't. I do think PC is growing really fast, and that's awesome. But I think it's just because the gaming industry is growing. I don't necessarily think it has anything to do with consoles dying. So definitely, especially like Nintendo and Sony, um, they're still doing pretty hot. Actually, that kind of segues into the other thing I wanted to talk about, which was Sony revealing a bunch of financial information about their PlayStation stuff. Did you see any of that, Rena? Like, did you see them? The big one, like, there's a lot of little things in there that don't really matter. A lot of like real in depth financial stuff, but I think the main takeaway is they on their little chart they basically said the PS5 generation is more profitable than every previous PlayStation generation combined. How do you feel about that?
I feel like consumers need to start pushing back more. Just because, in my personal opinion, we're going on 5 years into this generation,
Yeah, approaching.
and I feel like this generation hasn't even started yet. Like we've gotten good games, but there hasn't been that game that truly feels next gen.
I don't know.
Like,
I feel, and you know maybe I'm just too nice, but I definitely feel like we've gotten quite a few good games. I also don't think like I think a lot of people are thinking that this next generation is going to start sooner than it is. Like I do think we still have a few more years, especially like with Sony. Like I think maybe Microsoft might do something different, and we'll talk about them later. But I think like Sony, like because they announced as much. They did say that they are in development, like they're doing R&D for the PS6. So like we know it's coming, but I don't think it's coming yet. Like I think we still got like earlier. Was it last year? One of the Sony guys said
last
that
year.
we're halfway through, and if he was being like serious, that means yeah, we still got like 2 3 years, 2 3 years left. But if he wasn't like super serious, like down to the letter, yeah, I think we still got at least like my guess is 2027, like holiday 2027, and that gives us yeah 2.5 years left with this being the primary console, and even then, cross gen is still going to be a thing. And I do not think cross gen is necessarily bad. especially when you're just launching a new console, right? Like everyone talked a bunch of mess about like the PS5 having PS4 cross-gen a lot, but I don't think people realized that Sony only did cross-gen for 2 years. That's it. That's actually not a very long time to do cross-gen releases, and they haven't done a PlayStation 4 first party game since 2022. So like yeah, other people like Call of Duty is still coming out for the PS4 but and stuff like that, but like I don't think that counts. And then obviously we're going to see like big heavy hitting titles like, you know, GTA 6 or things like that, right? Like games are like coming out for the system. I think GTA 6 will be the first big game that like everyone is going to get a PS5 for. You know, like if you're still on PS4 and you're like interested in a game like this, like I think that is going to be the game that's going to get you to move over. After GTA 6 comes out, anybody still on PS4 at this point, you may as well just wait for the PS6. If nothing this generation is interest you, no third party exclusives like Expedition 33 or like any of that stuff. If literally nothing else is interest you and you still have it are on PS4 only by the time GTA 6 comes out, by that point, yeah, you may as well just wait. Wait for the PS6 and then experience all those PS5 games you missed once you get that, because I'm assuming it'll still be backwards compatible. But like yeah, I think like that'll be the big game that like pushes everyone. Like I know a couple of people who are on PS4 still, but all those people have said they will get a PS5 before GTA 6 comes out. So I think that'll be a big push for people. But you were saying like you think people should push back and you think like people should speak with their wallets. I think the thing is, Reyna, they are speaking with their wallets. Um, there's a lot of games that have done really well, and a lot of franchises and a lot of things like that. And you know, you look at like, okay, what has Sony prioritized this generation? What games have they greenlit? What games have they released? And what series have they chose to focus on? And it's like, okay, yeah, like it all makes sense. Like why did The Last of Us 1 get a remake? It's because it made a bajillion dollars. Like, you know what I mean? Why did Horizon Zero Dawn get a remake? It's because it made a bajillion dollars. Um, like they are speaking with their wallets, and just, you know, that's an important thing to remember, right? Like I say that a lot, but I do the same thing. I love speaking my wallet. I love supporting or choosing what I support. Um, and I want to see, you know, there's things that I want to see from Sony. My biggest thing, as I've told you numerous times, is I want to see them return to their Japanese roots. But then, even then, like they're kind of giving that to me with games like Tokon, and you know, investing so much in Japan right now, especially with their new CEO and stuff. So in that regard, I'm feeling pretty catered to.
Yeah, I think my issue is it's all these. I feel like this generation, I think its most notable games have just been remakes and remasters. And
Well, that's not
the
necessarily
remasters,
true.
I'm just saying,
Yeah.
like, in this generation, we got Resident Evil 3 remake, Resident Evil 4 remake, Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth, Horizon Zero Dawn remastered, Days Gone remastered. It's just, it feels like we're just getting so many remakes and remasters when
Yeah, but do you not remember
I've
what
been,
last gen was like? Do you not remember the PS4, Xbox One generation where every game got remastered? Because there was no backwards compatibility then, so you had to remaster your game to play it. So at that time, ever like yeah, Dark Souls got a remaster, freaking Tomb Raider, freaking Bioshock collection, Batman collection, like every Mass Effect, like every big game from the PS3 and 360 era got a remaster on the Xbox One and PS4. Like the biggest Xbox One game for a long time was the Master Chief Collection. It's a collection of remasters. So like
yeah,
I don't think that's new, right? But I also wouldn't say those
I,
are the biggest games, right? The biggest games are like Elden Ring, Baldur's Gate 3, you know, like a lot of these
yeah,
newer releases that are breaking records and catapulting new studios into the limelight.
I guess what I'm saying is I feel like we should be focusing more on new games instead of remastering games that aren't even 5 years old. Like
And I
Rise Zero
agree. I
Dawn.
agree. Well, Horizon Zero Dawn, but I agree with that sentiment of like, yeah, like new games, and you know, maybe wait a little bit longer before you start remastering and remaking games. I will say people complain about The Last of Us, but that was a 10-year-old game. So from
Yeah, that's
two
like
generations ago, I give them a pass on that. I do think Horizon was a little bit
I know.
ridiculous. Um, Though I will say, like, dude, Horizon looks amazing. So like, I don't know, you know. Um,
I'm I'm not denying that it looks amazing, but in terms of The Last of Us,
yeah,
that's a game that released on PS3, immediately got remastered for PS4,
yeah, but
and
that
it's
doesn't.
backwards compatible on PS5.
With
And it
with The Last of Us, it's and we've had this discussion before. The Last of Us is a really tricky one because The Last of Us was a PS3 like end of life game. So the PS4 remaster that came out, I don't think even a year after the game came out, wasn't really a remaster. It was just the PS3 game running on PS4. So like it still looked the same. It just ran at 60 FPS, right? It just was like the game was probably the game probably always should have been the PS4 version, but you know, it's kind of one of those things. Just like GTA 5. Like GTA 5 was a late generation 360 and PS3 game that probably should have just launched on Xbox One and PS4, and then it launched a year later, like a year and some change later. So that game, like The Last of Us 3, or Last of Us 3, what? The Last of Us Part 1, you know, getting remade the way it did. It's a tricky one because that game, yeah, it was remade. That game was 9 at the time. It was 9 years old, and and from 2 generations
my
ago.
issue,
I think you can remake a game after 10 years. I'm just saying. I'm okay with that.
my issue with the remake is it doesn't, in my opinion, it doesn't do enough to justify
I
itself. Is
agree.
the core
I
gameplay is
agree
the
too.
same.
It
The
should have
missions
given
are
The Last of Us 2 like gameplay. They should have
yeah,
brought a
like
lot of those mechanics in.
I think their excuse of Joel being too old to dodge is a load of crap because
Which
he
is
can't
funny.
dodge, but he
It's
can
so
travel
funny they said
across
that.
the country. But he can travel across the country. He can get
Yeah.
impaled. He can take all this damage, but we draw the line at him dodging. And
The
they're so
f-
committed to that story. Then The Last of Us 2 No Return, they make it so Tommy or Joel can't dodge. It's
which is
like
yeah. I think the
for me,
funniest thing Naughty Dog's ever said though, the funniest thing they ever said is that is that in Uncharted, Nathan Drake isn't actually getting shot. It's like his luck meter, like his health bar is his luck meter running out, and when he gets to 0, that's when he dies. He actually gets shot and dies. I think that's the funniest thing they've ever said. Sometimes you just don't need to explain away gameplay mechanics. It's fine.
yeah, but in my opinion, The Last of Us Remake is a game where sure, some people want it, and I do like the accessibility options,
Yeah.
but it's a remake that consumers should have pushed back on. They should have spoke with their wallets and not bought it just because if you have The Last of Us remastered on PS5, you already have The Last of Us remake. Like the only thing they changed was better graphics.
Yeah. I
Like the
do
only reason they did,
I will say though for the PC guys it makes complete sense. Like that I have no issue with
yeah,
that because then that was the first time the game was on PC. So then it's a new game to you. But
but
yeah, for PlayStation guys,
the
if you already had Last of Us 1, there wasn't really a real big reason to get it. I actually feel like The Last of Us 2 getting the remaster that it did was actually better because even like then if you own Last of Us 2, you just paid $10 and got it for like a really cheap price and just got all the new content, right? And it wasn't even just that, like there was a whole extra side mode, you know, the no return mode or whatever it was called. There's a whole extra mode added. So at the very least, like you could just see it as like a $10 DLC, even if you didn't want to like see it as a remaster, you know? So I feel like that is better. Like
yeah,
I'm okay when they do stuff like that. I don't know. Did they do that with Horizon? Did they do the $10 thing with Horizon?
yes, and
They
also
did.
just
So
to
then that's
explain
fine
my
too, you know.
hypocrisy is I did buy The Last of Us Part 1, the remake,
Oh, so did
on
I.
PS5. I played through it,
Yeah,
and
it's
I also bought it
incredible.
on PC, where I feel extremely scammed because I bought the Firefly edition. And two
Yeah,
hours before it launched, I'm in the call with the boys like, guys, something feels wrong. Every PC port they've released reviews. Where are the reviews for this game? And they're like,
yeah,
yeah, it's fine. We get it, and it's gone down in history as one of the most infamously bad PC ports.
yeah. That wasn't a great launch, but I hear it's better now. I don't know. I don't have it on
It's
PC,
better,
so
but it's still not perfect. Is
yeah.
for me that launch was actually offensively
I hear
bad,
The Last of Us
and
2's PC launch was way better.
I had some issues from what I've heard, but yeah, it's way better. But it for me, with how bad The Last of Us Part 1 launched on PC, anything short of flawless for The Last of Us 2 PC port, I considered it a personal fail. And from the issues I've been hearing, I would personally consider it a fail, but just because I had high expectations for Redemption after the Part 1 PC port.
Yeah. I mean, that's fair. That's fair. But going back to the actual like topic at hand of Sony making just a bajillion dollars, um, I think when you look at it, it makes a lot of sense. I mean, Sony is not like the market leader, but they're kind of like the face of console gaming, like the hardcore side of console gaming. So if you're gonna play like your Call of Duties or your Maddens or your FIFAs, you're probably doing it on a PlayStation, and those microtransactions make a lot of money, and Sony gets a pretty big cut of that. So yeah, like the rise of microtransactions, the rise of free to play games like Fortnite or like Genshin and all those games that make just billions and billions of dollars. Um, that's probably why we're seeing such huge revenue numbers and profit margins and stuff. They can write off failures like Concord 1,000 times over, and it barely makes a dent because they're just making so much money off of all these other games. I also think, and I'm being genuine here, I think their partnerships with like Epic on Fortnite and FromSoft on like all their games, I think they're like relying on a lot of their partnerships to kind of fill the gaps in their first party lineup. Because yes, they have slowed down. I mean, I don't think that's up for debate. Their first party lineup has been slower this generation. But like they don't care. they're making so much money. I don't think they care. And then they can maybe let their studios take their time. But I think I'm hoping that they're getting back on track, because before Marathon got delayed, they had 7 first party games on track to release in 2025. If Marathon does get pushed out, that's still 6 first party releases. Yes, one of them's a remaster, but still, like that's still 6 first party releases in 1 year. That's good
What's their first
for.
party releases?
Hmm.
What's their first party releases? Because I
Yeah.
only know Ghost of Yotei.
So for this year, if we're not counting Marathon, because I think that got pushed out of 2025, they had Midnight Murder Club, MLB The Show, Days Gone Remastered,
Oh,
Death Stranding 2, Ghost of Yotei, and Lost Soul Aside. That's 6 games.
okay.
Yeah, and then
Honestly, I wouldn't even
Marathon was gonna be 7. So like that's a pretty big year.
I wouldn't even call Days Gone remaster a remaster. It's basically just the PC
It's
version.
technically it is a release, right? So it's still a first party something. So it does count. But yeah, I mean
I'm
it's Days
surprised.
Gone, so I don't care. But it's something.
I'm surprised the Days Gone director hasn't thrown a temper
Oh,
tantrum
he
over.
did.
Oh wait, he did over Days Gone director's
Yeah,
cut or
I'm pretty sure.
remaster.
I don't know.
If you
He
could find
crashes
it,
out over
I
everything.
need you to.
He crashed out over Astrobot. You saw that, right?
Oh yeah,
Yeah, when he
that was the
crashed out
funniest thing I've ever
because
seen.
Deacon was in Astrobot, and he's all like, how dare they disrespect my super serious? Like, shut up, dude. Like, I'm so glad he's out of that company, man. Ugh.
I mean, why did they fire him when he wrote or he helped write? Just promise me
the
you'll ride
the
me as much as you ride that motorcycle.
Yeah, the
Like,
greatest dialogue in gaming history. The greatest dialogue next to Forspoken.
I feel like Expedition 33 doesn't come close to that
No,
level of dialogue.
no, Expedition 33 couldn't hold a candle to that. Are you kidding me? But
For
yeah,
all,
I think ultimately though, like genuinely, I think it's like the microtransactions and all these huge live service pushes. That's why Sony's been trying so hard to get into it. And like, yeah, they failed like 100,000 times, but like, can you blame them for trying? Like, dude, these games make so much money. These games make all of the money. I'm glad though.
that reminds
Ultimately,
me.
I'm genuinely glad that Sony has failed so spectacularly at live service games, with like 2 exceptions. Destiny kind of, Helldivers 2, and I mean like Gran Turismo 7 to a degree, right? Like, but I just don't want Sony to force themselves into that niche when that's not them. Like if they want, do something else. Like do the Destiny route where they bought Destiny or they're investing in Fortnite. Like Sony owns like a percentage of Epic Games or whatever, or they're partnered with them on Fortnite. So they make money when Fortnite makes money. But like I don't think they
Yeah,
should be forcing any of their pre-existing studios that already work on the games they're working on. I don't think they should be forcing them to change to a live service format. Like Paul Tassi was talking about what really happened with The Last of Us, like the factions thing. And apparently, according to him, now this is just, one source, right? But according to him, what actually happened is that Bungie didn't actually tell Naughty Dog to cancel the game like we thought that they did. What Paul Tassi is saying happened is that Bungie went through and explained the process of how to run a live service with Naughty Dog, and they're like, "That's too much work. We don't want to do this. We're out. We're just going to cancel the game." And so like that's different. I have some thoughts on that. I think the game could have launched without being a live service and still really would have done very well. But
People are yearning for factions too.
I
Like I've
know.
seen
It
people.
just, but like, it doesn't need to be a live service game. You know what I mean? Like, it could just be a $40 multiplayer game that never gets any updates. I would play it. You know what I mean? Like, we don't need every game that's multiplayer to also be a live service. Games as a service, microtransactions, and seasonal releases. Like, we don't need that. Not every game needs to do that. So but
I
that if
feel
that's
like
true, if what Paul Tassi said is true, though, I kind of get it. Like that's the same thing that happened with Insomniac. Like these studios should not be pushed to making live service games if they don't want to. If they want to, sure, try it, but like they shouldn't have to do it. And if they want, maybe start a new studio or purchase another studio, and they can make a live service game. But like to push for like a God of War live service game or some crap like that is stupid. So I'm glad that they have retreated and that they seemingly do not want to do that stuff anymore because I mean that's dumb, and I think they should focus on their strengths and build up their lineup of first party and partner games and all that stuff, the same things that they've been doing for 30 years. Like, just there's no need to rock the boat like other companies are doing, and we will talk about that for probably the remainder of this podcast, but that's my thoughts.
I fully agree. Is I think Sony should just stick to what they're good at.
Yeah,
And to
it's what
me, I
Nintendo
think
does, and they make
Sony.
$1 trillion.
I think what they need to do is. I think you're right. Game budgets are just way too high. Like, I know you like Spider-Man 2, but can we agree that did not feel like a
Yeah, no, it did not
315?
feel like a $350 million game. There's no reason that game needed to cost that much.
Like, it's just for me, they just need to go back to their PS4 roots, like their 2015 to 2018
Like
roots.
late
Sort
gen
of like
PS3 Vita era is where I would actually say, and I agree.
because, like, to me, those were games where you would go to a midnight launch, you would have a great time, you would get home, pop the disc in, and just have a great time. I still remember the Spider-Man 2018 midnight launch.
Ooh, yeah, I was there
I
too.
actually got like 4 or 5 copies of that game. I got the limited edition
Jeez.
PS4, the limited edition game itself. I got the GameStop collector's box, and then I got a copy at GameStop to go to the midnight launch for because the copies were at Best Buy. They weren't doing the midnight launch.
Yeah,
So for me, is Spider-Man 2018. That's a game that holds a special place in my heart.
yeah, no, for sure. I love that game, but
Yeah, I want to see Sony go back to releasing games like those where you you're basically setting up a whole generational experience. Like that's a game that defined a generation, in my opinion.
I think they kind of are. I mean, we're already seeing that with games like Astrobot. The game won Game of the Year, and the game cost like $2 and a toothpick. Like that game was not expensive to make. A small team made it, and it was super successful. And yeah, it didn't sell a billion copies, but it didn't need to be a success. And that's ultimately the thing,
Exactly.
is when you have smaller budget games, the line is here. You only need to sell to make a success. You only need to sell so much. You know what I mean? When you have a game that
Yeah,
costs $800 billion to make, like yeah, like then it sells 10 million copies. Cool, but like what if it doesn't sell 10 million copies? Then you're stuck with a Concord. You know what I mean? Like
exactly.
the ability to fail becomes so much more. Like games, can have smaller budgets and be smaller in scope, and we are starting to see gamers just kind of gravitate more towards those kind of smaller games. And even some of those smaller games are still huge experiences. Expedition 33 is technically a budget title, but that is a monster of a game that is absolutely worth every single penny you pay for it. But it's technically not like a super, super high budget AAA title. It's a $50 kind of budget game that was made by a small studio, made, it's a different kind of thing. But I think Sony is starting to do that. They are still obviously going to invest heavily into their big blockbuster franchises that make a bajillion quintillion dollars. But I mean, come on, you saw the state of play. You saw how they ended. They ended on Marvel Dokkan Fighting Souls. That is that is awesome. That's what I want to see from Sony. That
I,
stuff.
I'm
You know,
I got a confession to make.
if you're gonna
I
talk
didn't
about,
watch this
oh,
so
if
far.
you,
I was in my defense. I was really sick that day. I was trying to get some sort of sleep that way I could go to
that's
the
fine.
Switch 2 tomorrow.
Look, if you didn't watch it,
But
that's fine. That's fine. But I won't have you badmouth Tokon Fighting Souls. So if that's where you're heading
oh
with
no no
this, okay. I
no!
was
I'm not
gonna
gonna
come through
bad
the
mouth
screen.
it.
I was gonna start laying some hands because I'm like, we will not be talking bad of
I'll
Marvel
be laying
4,
hands.
baby.
You already have me at gunpoint.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, sorry. I forgot the assassins and the comically large firearms and swords. Right. Okay. Um,
All I have to say is, I also think Sony should start. They have so many multi-billion-dollar ideas that the people are telling me they want. Gravity Rush remastered.
yep.
Just for them, just
Bloodborne.
make a Bloodborne PS5
Bloodborne.
port.
That's the big one. Here's the thing.
It's like,
New CEO, new CEO. He seems to be pretty chill and he seems to be pretty Japan heavy. So maybe he will start doing those things. I mean, I don't know when these deals got made, but Sony's licensing out some of their old IP. You saw the Freedom Wars that got remastered under Bandai, and the same thing
forgot that
happened
again.
with Hot Shots Golf. That's getting a new entry under Bandai. That's a Sony IP. So like
For me,
they're okay with that stuff, and I think that's awesome. I would rather them do something than nothing. Even if they're just licensing out IP, like I'm okay with that. They're still doing something. They're still making a new Hot Shots. They're still making a new, well, remastering Freedom Wars, but they're utilizing that stuff, and that's incredible. Yes, I would love to see
because it's
new
like,
entries, but still.
because I have not seen a game be more highly demanded than a Bloodborne
Yeah, Bloodborne.
remaster remake. Just something with Bloodborne, and then so it's like Days Gone remaster.
Well, maybe this is just my copium, but maybe Bloodborne can still happen. Okay, who knows? It's been 10 years, so maybe they'll do it. Maybe they'll do it to the 15-year anniversary. I don't know. Uh,
Just
I
like
don't know. I hope it
I know they're very
happens.
profitable, but at times it feels like they are allergic to money.
Yeah, yeah. Also,
Because
what
like
the heck has
also stuff,
Bluepoint been doing this whole time? Bluepoint better release a game soon. I'm telling you.
I forgot they even existed.
Yeah, the last thing they did was Demon Souls, man.
I haven't finished that one, but from what I've played, the only Souls game I finished is Elden Ring, but I like them all.
Yeah.
I suck at them, but that could be one of those people who ask for an easy mode. It,
Yeah. Elden Ring is also the only one I finished. I've played every FromSoft. Oh no, that's not true. I played almost every FromSoft game, um, but I haven't finished most of them. Then I platinumed Elden Rings. Like I loved Elden Ring clearly.
yeah,
Who
Elden
knows?
Ring
Maybe
was a fantastic.
maybe I got good enough. Maybe I can go back and play some of those harder games. Maybe I'll go and platinum Sekiro. You don't know. You don't know.
Yeah, like for me is Bloodborne or Gravity Rush, or what I really want is I want them to take Resident Evil 1, 2, 3, and Code Veronica and do what Aspyr did. Is that how you pronounce the company's name?
Aspire.
Aspire.
Hmm.
I want to see them do what Aspire did for Tomb Raider. Because, like, while the
Yeah.
remakes are fantastic, I still think the originals have their own merits too. I think it's worth
The
playing
originals
through
are,
those.
but the originals are all on PlayStation Plus. So,
Yeah, and they're
or
all
you
on
can,
GOG.
or you could just, I think you could just buy them too on the PSN store.
But I
So
want to see them get like a proper remaster.
yeah, that'd
I
be nice
feel
too.
like I
I,
feel
I
like
like the
Resident
remakes
Evil.
for me.
Yeah,
I actually prefer the remakes to the original games, with one exception. You know the one. Um, but
Resident Evil
yeah,
4.
no, three. Are you kidding me? Resident Evil
But
2 remake is like one of my favorite games of all time, flat out. Period.
I agree. It's just my
So
some issues. My issue with that game is just I wish the scenarios were different, kind of like how the OG did it. But that's what I mean by
there's
the
yeah.
OGs are still worth playing.
And I agree with that. Huge retro gamer, so clearly I have no leg to stand on in that argument. But yeah, no, retro games and just the OGs are worth preserving, and I'm glad that. I mean, that's one thing I will commend Sony on, is that yeah, like they're going and making these deals and getting these old games up on this service still. That's pretty cool. Like Resident Evil 1,
Yeah,
2, and 3 OG are all
Anchor Run.
about to be playable on PS5. Like that's kind of crazy.
And if they get actual proper achievement support, I've already bought Resident Evil Director's
I
Cut
think
just
they
because I haven't played the Director's
will.
Cut.
So we'll see. We'll
But
see.
yeah, I do commend Sony for their preservation efforts. But the PS6 will determine are they actually committed to preserving whether the PS6 will launch with a disk drive or not.
Well, my theory on that is I don't. I think it'll be just like the PS5 Pro. I think there'll be two options. You just have your with and without, and then the disk drive is
Uh,
hot swappable, just like it is on the PS5 Pro and the digital, the
so
Slim.
the PS5 Pro doesn't have any options. It only comes without a disk drive.
Yeah, but that's
You
what
have
I
to buy
mean
the
is that
disk
like you
drive.
can. But for the new console launch though, I think there'll be two options, like one a bundle with it, one a bundle without it, and then the disk drive itself is detachable, and you can come on and off. Because I do like that as an option because it like for the original launch of the PS5, you have the two different versions of the console, right? The digital and the disc one. I had people who could only find the digital console and then later on regretted it because now they can't play their physical games or watch their physical movies. So at the very least, and again, I know that there's a con too, but at the very least, the pro is if those people find themselves in that situation, they get the console, they can still upgrade later. That's cool. I like
Yeah.
that.
And I think I can segue us into our next topic, which is,
Yes, the final topic.
and I
Microsoft.
also want to go back to Nintendo just because there's still a bit more I want to talk about.
Sure, but yeah,
But
let's talk about Xbox and what they've been doing this week because there's been a lot, and I have so many questions. But I guess we can begin with the handheld. Talk about that a little bit.
I'm I'm mixed because I think it shows where Xbox's priorities at are for the
Yes,
future.
100%.
They don't they aren't making I don't think they're gonna be making consoles anymore. What I think they're gonna be doing is they're gonna be partnering with stuff like Asus, AMD to release like PCs that
Yeah,
also have like the Xbox store.
that is my thought process as well, and it's kind of scary. I am somebody who's owned every single Xbox console, multiple of every single Xbox console. I probably have
Yep,
more Xboxes than you, but
doubt it.
oh, trust me, I have so many. But no,
Let's
the
compare real quick. I have the original Xbox. I have the Halo 4 360. I have the
uh-huh.
Halo Reach 360. I have the original Xbox One, the Gears of War 4 Xbox One S. I have the
Mhm.
OG Xbox One X, and the Gears 5 Xbox One X.
Yeah, no, I definitely have way more than you. Like an
Oh,
infinitesimally larger amount of Xboxes than you do. I have
well,
three
this
original
backfired on
Xboxes. I have like five 360s. Granted, some of those 360s red ringed, so there was a reason I
I
needed so
have a,
many. How many Xbox
I
Ones
have,
do I have? Let's see. I have I have the VCR of the Advanced Warfare Xbox. I have the Halo 5 Xbox. I have Series or not a Series S, Xbox One S, and an Xbox One X. And then yes, then I have two Series S's and one Series X. Actually, only one because I got rid of one because I had two.
I had a
So yeah,
Series X back in 2023, I
I
believe.
haven't used it in a while, but I mostly use it for 360 back compat. So
Yeah, I had
that's my
a
360 right
Series
there.
X, but in 2023, I just saw I wasn't using it. Like,
Yeah, me
it was
either.
just sitting there collecting dust, so I just traded it in to fund my figure collection.
And now
And
that
honestly,
oh sorry, go ahead.
I thought I would miss it more than I do, but I really don't. Like, the only thing I miss is the library I had. The only game I truly like miss is the Hogwarts Legacy, which you can get for dirt
And
cheap
yeah, and you
now.
can get on any platform. That's kind of the thing with me too. Is when Xbox started kind of putting a lot of the games on PC, I just started buying the games there, and then now they're putting their games on PlayStation, so I'm just buying the games there. So I don't really
Yeah, like I
need
just
an Xbox, and I don't subscribe
for
to
my
Game Pass, so for me that's not really a selling point either. It's just too expensive for
for me,
me.
yeah. So for me, for my birthday, I actually bought Indiana Jones on
Hmm.
PS5, which I'm really enjoying my time with it. But for a $70 game, it's just way too short. I'm only like 3 hours in, and according to the tracker on PS5, I'm only like 33% done. Which,
So it's like a 15 hour game, maybe.
from I think it's gonna be like 8 to 9 hours. Which, as long as it's replayable, I can be okay with that. But
What's the
if
game
it's
called?
just one of those
The
games like
Circle of Indiana Jones, Circle something.
Indiana Jones and the Great
The
Circle.
Great Circle.
But for me, for the price tag they're charging, if the game isn't replayable, I'm gonna feel ripped off because it's a good game. Like I'm enjoying my time with it.
How Long to Beat says about 15 and a half hours for the main story. That's not bad.
So hopefully, just some segments become longer, just because
Yeah.
the game is really good. Is I'm enjoying my time with it.
My
Is
mom is the biggest Indiana Jones fan I know. She was going to buy an Xbox for this game, and then they announced it was coming to PS5, and then she's like, "Oh, never mind." She just bought it for PS5.
yeah,
See,
it's
exclusives matter, guys. I'm telling, literally, my mom is proof of that, and she's my mom. Now imagine how the hardcore audience is gonna feel. You know what I mean? So, I think with Xbox, you're right. I think this handheld, because for those who don't know, let's just kind of go over this new handheld. It's a ROG Ally. They just kind of stamped the Xbox logo on it and are kind of pretending that they invented it. And I'm worried that that's the current new Xbox business model, is like taking something that already exists and then saying that they made it and saying that it's an Xbox, and that's not how this works. As of right now, we are recording this a couple days early, so the news may have already broken that they're partnering with Meta to do the whole Quest thing through Xbox. Maybe that's a fake leak, whatever. I don't know, but that leaked this morning. So like, and it's probably the same thing. Just it's a Quest with the Xbox logo on it. So it's like these are products that already exist, and then Microsoft is like, look at this new Xbox handheld. And then it's just a ROG Ally. Or look at this new VR headset we made, and it's just a Quest. So I agree with you. I don't think that they're actually making a new console. I think that the new console they're making is just going to be a home PC with the Windows Store on it. And they're just going to say
yeah.
like the Play Anywhere titles, and they're just going to sell their console gamers PCs, and they're just effectively going to move all the Xbox players over to PC, which cool, honestly, good, but it's kind of sad. It's almost, to me anyways, like the death of what makes Xbox in my mind. And the traditional Xbox console business seems to be gone. And then what happens to all the Xbox console only games, right? They said that this new handheld will be able to play just the Play Anywhere titles. That didn't say anything about like my backwards compatible games or any of the digital only games or any of my physical games. Like they want to take your library anywhere, but clearly they can't. So some sacrifices will have to be made here, and it's I'm happy for them. Clearly, that going third party and doing this is making them more money, so they're going to be more successful as a games unit, but as a publisher, right? But I feel like they've lost their identity a bit, and that worries me. But that's just
I fully
me
agree
as
with that.
an old head. Maybe I'm just not with how with the times.
I grew up on Xbox.
So did
It's
I.
like I said earlier. The Xbox is where I played my very first video game, and
Same here.
I was more excited for the Xbox Series X than I was for the PS5. I'm a huge Spider-Man fan, and it was launching
Yeah.
with Miles Morales. It's just feel like Xbox this generation has just lost itself. Like they released,
Yeah.
in my opinion, one of the greatest games of this generation, Hi-Fi Rush, which you should all go out and
That
play
hurts. That
right now.
hurts.
And they admitted it was a success, and for some reason they decided to shut down the studio.
Yeah.
Like to me, that's what felt validated when I sold my Xbox, just because if you're working under Xbox, you could release a successful game, it still doesn't guarantee you're safe from a
Yeah, no, you're
shutdown.
still gonna get shut down. Well, you still can, anyways. And
And
they're laid off 6,000 people this year, and probably gonna be more. Like it's crazy. But I don't want to get too much into that. I think it's just you know, uh, it's the reality, right? Is that Xbox? If you look at it traditionally, the traditional console war, if you will, they got their butt handed to them for 20
and
years, and so they have
it
to do
feels like they were
something, you know.
I feel like what they should have done is they have all these studios they've bought. What they should do is they should be working to create new innovative experiences.
Yeah,
Because like I feel like that's why Nintendo and Sony can get away with what they're getting away with
yeah,
now. because Xbox isn't competing. Like,
I
we
agree.
need that competition because I feel like gaming's gonna get worse without Xbox competing.
I think when it comes to, everyone says, like Phil Spencer in that interview said, like, oh, nothing we could do would ever let us like win against Sony or however he said it. And
That's just how it
I
works.
100% disagree. I think that's a quitter's mindset. Because here's the thing. This is the order of events. Xbox in let's say 2010, that's when things started really falling apart with the Kinect and their lack of games output. Xbox from 2010, then the launch of the Xbox One being as horrible as it was, and then them having no games throughout that entire period of time, and then the games they were releasing were terrible, like Crackdown 3 and Halo 5, and then all this stuff happened, and then the Xbox Series X launched, and then that whole debacle with Halo Infinite, and then all that stuff to where we are when Microsoft purchased Bethesda and Activision, because that was the turning point. Okay, they couldn't release games to save the life of them. They had all these bad business decisions and stuff for the last 10 years, and then the Series X releases. They now own Bethesda. A couple years later, they own Activision. What do you do with that? Okay, well, our biggest problem was we didn't have any games. Let's take all these Activision games, all these Bethesda games, and then all our back catalog of studios as well that are also making their own experiences. Let's make all these games exclusive, and then people will buy our Xbox. And they didn't do that. That is the easiest. It's like the easiest thing you could do is, yes, you have all these studios, all these games releasing. You have this huge lineup now because you spent all this money to buy them. Use them. But no, instead they said, no, let's give up the console war entirely. Let's just put our games everywhere. And then now no one will buy an Xbox. Well, not no one, but way less people buy Xboxes. And it blows my mind, because do you know how many people would buy an Xbox if Call of Duty was exclusive to the Xbox?
They could literally take
Millions of
Sony out of
people.
the they could take Sony out of the equation right there.
That was what Jim Ryan was so worried about, and everyone like making fun of him, like, "Oh, you were worried for nothing." Well, no one with any console knowledge or business sense would have assumed that they would actually go this route. Like, that doesn't make any sense. Because if Sony bought Activision, the first thing they would do is lock down Call of Duty. The first thing.
Exactly. And I think that's why I don't think they could lock down Call of Duty because remember the FTC was
I,
going in heavily on
yeah,
them and they had
sure.
to make the promise they
Maybe
weren't
not
going to
Call
make
of
Call of
Duty,
Duty.
but every other game. You know what I mean? Like they would do that because that's the thing. That's the smart thing to do. And I think with Xbox is they're not. They're so dead set on not playing by everyone else's rules. They're trying to do the Nintendo approach, but they are not Nintendo. Nintendo doesn't play by anybody else's rules, but they release the
They've earned
must-have
that.
games, and they've earned that over the last 40 years of releasing must-have games. Actually longer. Oh my god, it's been over 40 years. That's crazy. But releasing must-have games and releasing dozens of games per year, all exclusive to their ecosystem. Like, Xbox is just trying to be like the number one publisher, and that's cool. I'm happy if that's the route you want to take. That's fine. But it sucks because now Sony has no actual competition, and we see what happens to Sony when they get cocky and when they have no competition. And it's worrying that, like, I don't know where we're headed, but I'm scared. Like, I don't what is Sony gonna do? And it's weird because, like, it feels like all the weird, like, cocky moves Sony could have made, Xbox is the one making those moves right now. Like, tell me why the heck an Xbox Series X costs $600 right now? That's insane. Why is the
I
PS5
forgot the price.
$200 cheaper than an Xbox Series X? Um, that's insane.
I feel like for me, Xbox, I just I feel like they just kind of screwed the pooch in their choices of leadership. Like I don't know who was before Phil Spencer, but
I was what's his name? I hate him, but I forget his name. He sucked.
I
Don
feel
Matrick.
like they
Don Matrick.
yeah, I feel like they screwed the pooch in who they chose for leadership when Sony. How long was Jim Ryan in charge?
5 years, I think. It wasn't a ton of
Well,
time.
they had the right lead. Sony had the right leadership in 2013 when the PS4 released, and they were able to build off of that momentum into the PS5.
Yeah.
Xbox, they just never got the right leadership, and I think Phil Spencer is the part of the reason for Xbox's downfall.
Jim Ryan was, yeah, 5 years. It was 2019 to 2024. So he took over pretty late in the PS4's lifespan. He really was only CEO for the launch of the PS5. But yeah, I think you're right though. Is a leader, this failure of leadership is a failure of a lot of things, and I don't necessarily blame Phil Spencer because he just has to make what he can. But I do think the biggest mistake they made was like, yeah, they bought all these studios and they did nothing with them. Like, yeah, they're releasing games on every platform. Like, how does that benefit your Xbox? It doesn't. It just, if all these games were exclusive, like I said, my mom would have bought Indiana Jones on an Xbox. She would have gone out and bought an Xbox just to play Indiana Jones. There's so many people like that would have gone out and bought an Xbox to play, the next Elder Scrolls or the next Call of Duty or whatever, and they just didn't. They're just not doing that. So I feel like
And you
they
know
gave
what?
up. They gave up before they even really started. Before they even tried, and that's kind of sad. But
And you know what? If they would have kept Tango Gameworks and made Hi-Fi Rush 2
yeah,
made
man,
exclusive to the Xbox, I would have, even with the price increases, I would have went out and bought an Xbox because I think Hi-Fi Rush,
incredible,
it was a game I think the game needed. It offered, I believe it actually innovated in how audio can be used to enhance the game by making the
big
music
time.
part of the gameplay. It's just I could take up 3 hours. Just
Ranting about Hi-Fi Rush. You know what? I might give
yeah,
you an
actually.
opportunity. I might give you a whole segment in a future video just to rant about Hi-Fi Rush. But I think the other thing too to talk about with Microsoft is they did announce, right, like we say, like they're getting out of the console business. They did announce that they're partnering with AMD and that they're also just like the PS6 news. The Xbox announced that they're also working on their next hardware release, their next console. But I feel like the wording in there, like we need to see what this thing is because my speculation is like we spoke. My speculation is that it is going to be just a partnered PC release. I don't think it's going to be an actual Xbox console. It'll be a home PC. Maybe some stripped down features, maybe, but like that's what I'm thinking they're doing. They're just gonna make a line of PCs, and I hope
I
I'm wrong,
think what
but we'll see.
I think what they're going to do is I think they're going to make a more powerful like Steam Deck or Switch. They get that type of hardware, but make it without a screen and put like Steam OS on it, and that's the new Xbox.
Yeah, I mean they're working on their like PC Xbox Store UI thing that they're doing for the handhelds. So I think they're going to scale that up, and I think that's just what you're going to see on their Xbox console. But like I do think it's literally just going to be like a home PC box, just like the Steam box was, or Steam machine. Sorry, the Steam machine was. And then it's just going to have, you're going to have your Xbox PC Game Pass stuff and your Play Anywhere games, but then you're going to have Steam. You're going to have, like, because it's a PC. I think it's just going to be a PC. Um,
Yeah,
so we'll see. But I think given their track record and now what they're doing with this Ally, like I think that's what this new console release is going to be. And
yeah.
it just worries me, man, because I don't think they're in this actual console industry for the long haul. I think they're just moving everybody to PC, and some people are gonna not even realize it's happening, but it's happening.
I also feel like we need to talk about they're talking about AI powered experiences,
Yeah, but
and
like
I think they need to
yeah,
clarify the word. Are they talking
they
about
do too.
building games with AI, or are they talking about like using AI to enhance the games, like DLSS, that type of technology, or
Exactly.
are they going to go the route of they're going to start using AI to build their games, which,
Yeah.
in my opinion, would be the final nail in the coffin for Xbox.
So many people think I'm just anti AI, but I'm not. I'm not. I think generative AI is a horrible, terrible thing to do for art, but I do think like there is uses for machine learning and things like that. And so yeah, things like DLSS, like incredible use. That's amazing, and I think that is one of the best things that they've done with like new gaming hardware is DLSS and PSSR and FSR, and those sorts of technologies. That's great. But yeah, if you're like utilizing generative AI to like make parts of your game for you and like do things like that, that's terrible, and I don't want to see that. But clearly, Microsoft doesn't have as much of a they're not as afraid of it as other companies are, because like Microsoft made Black Ops 6, and Black Ops 6 is full of AI trash, dude. Like I love
I
that
didn't even
game,
notice
but
that. But
dude, yeah, I love that game, but there's so much like Gen AI like content, like calling cards and images and loading screens, and I think some skins. Honestly, like I think some of like the actual like purchasable skins in that game are made of AI. Like it's rough out there, and I think there's like a whole thing going on too with like their voice actors going on strike because they're not signing the clause, like Activision and Microsoft aren't signing the clause to like not use their voices for AI, and that voice actors are like going on strike and stuff. It's like crazy. So like clearly they're okay with using AI for those reasons, but at the same time, like how much blame of that is on like the previous Activision leadership, right? And how much blame is that on Microsoft as the company that owns Activision? I don't know. So I think we'll have to wait and see like what Microsoft starts doing with actual game creation, like new games utilizing AI. I'm hoping that it's more of what you said, more things adjacent to like machine learning technologies, DLSS and stuff like that, and way less stuff like generative AI assets and things like that. Because I totally agree with you. That's unacceptable.
yeah, because I feel like honestly, I'm honestly kind of happy they shut down Tango GameWorks because if they do make a Hi-Fi Rush 2,
Yeah, how much of that would have been
it
just
just
been AI?
yeah, which in my opinion, you're already taking the heart and soul away from what made Hi-Fi Rush so good, which is you can tell there was a team behind it
Yeah,
who loved every second of it.
yeah, no, for sure,
And
incredible game.
that's where I really hope that Xbox Game Studios, I know it'll suck, but I kind of hope they would rather shut themselves down than use Gen AI for their games.
What we've seen so far, like at this last showcase, they announced a pretty good chunk of games, and it didn't appear. Granted, we don't know, but it didn't appear like any of them were using, generative AI. So we'll see. I'm cautiously optimistic, but clearly with like the Call of Duty stuff, they're not against it. So as long as they avoid it when they can, I'm interested. I mean,
I personally see Call of Duty as like a test of sorts, seeing what they can get away with.
maybe, yeah, maybe.
Like, what can they get away with, and how long can they get away with it before people find out?
Yeah, and that's honestly that's probably exactly what it is. But we'll see. I mean, it's I'm interested in a lot of games that Xbox has coming out. But we'll see. Well, that's all I can say is we will see.
Honestly, my
Unfortunately, I
favorite
don't.
announcement,
Oh yeah, what was your favorite announcement?
is that like the Xbox Game Showcase for all third-party
Hmm.
games, like Invincible versus the Persona 4 Revival.
Yeah, yeah, of
For me,
course.
their best announcements at the showcase were all third-party games. Like their exclusive stuff, I don't
Well,
remember really showing an interest in.
they don't make exclusives anymore, but yeah, no, I
But you
I, I
get what I
got you.
mean.
Yeah, yeah, they're first party stuff. Yeah, no, I agree. I just think like that's kind of what I was saying is that like I have some interest in Xbox first party. Especially like the remasters of older games like Oblivion and Gears of War and stuff. Like that's awesome, right? But yeah, like it's not exclusive, so I'm just not gonna buy it on Xbox. Like I don't see myself buying an Xbox ever again. Especially if they're just gonna be home PCs. Like I have a 4080, I'm good. I have a pretty good PC. I'll just keep playing on PC.
Yeah, my
But
3090 is still doing just fine.
yeah, and I'm gonna use Steam. I'm not using the Windows Store, and I'm not purchasing Game Pass. So like I'm okay. I'm good. I'll buy get whatever games I want to buy because owning games is based. But yeah, that's just kind of like how I feel about that. But I am still interested in some stuff that Xbox is putting out. I'm interested in the new Perfect Dark game. I'm interested in, the Call of Duty and Doom franchises. I'm interested in Halo. I freaking love Halo. I just need them to make a really good one. And all this stuff that they're doing, and I'm interested, but I don't know. I feel like I said, they gave up before they started, and it makes me a little sad. But if I was Phil Spencer, like that's how I would do it. So clearly they have just a different philosophy than me. We'll see if it works out in the long run. But yeah, like I don't hate Xbox. I'm interested in their publishing, and as of right now, to me, that's all they are. They're a third party publisher for the platforms I
I
actually
agree.
play.
I agree. They're like they're like Take-Two in the sense that they'll fund games and they'll publish games, but
Yeah.
they just won't make the games.
Or
Just because,
what I think is a more apt comparison, Rena.
what?
They're like Sega. Yeah. So, anyways, that's probably where we should end it. We've gone way over time. But thank you for joining me today, Rena. I know this is kind of spur of the
For having
moment,
me.
last minute thing, but thanks. Yeah, thanks for coming on.
No, thank you for having me.
Yeah.
Is how long did we go today?
Almost an hour and a half.
You told me this would take 45 minutes.
I
You lied
know.
to
I'm
me.
sorry. Okay, I didn't realize we were gonna talk. We were gonna ramble so much and yap about all these things. That's good. That's what happens. Is like, yeah, when you make a podcast, with all your best, like your family and your best friends, you're just gonna start yapping. That's the idea, anyways. But, geez, yeah, I
Yeah, like
apologize.
I'm surprised
This is
at
the
how
longest episode, so.
close we were in viewpoints on a lot of these topics.
Yeah, we don't always agree on everything, but some things we do. See, here's the thing: is now we just
Yeah.
got to get Gabe on here. If we want disagreements, if we want drama on the podcast, we got to get Gabe in here. So,
Honestly, I feel like Gabe's gonna be tearing us limb for what we just said about Xbox.
oh yeah, no, he's not gonna like that part. But we love him, and honestly, we love Xbox. It's just we don't necessarily line in with their current plans, and that's unfortunate.
Um,
I want
I'm just gonna say
everything.
is,
I want everything to be catered to me, and when they're not, I get sad, I get frustrated, and I get angry. So I'm just
in the
kidding.
terms of we love Xbox, who is this we you're talking
Okay,
about?
all right, whatever. Get out of here. But no, thanks for coming on. Everybody, give Rena some love in the comments and whatnot. But yeah, no, that's kind of the plan. I mean, he's our first change up and co-host, but I've got tons of friends and people who are gonna kind of be in on this podcast. So you might not see the same people every week. And Devin should be back hopefully soon, but he's been busy. And I wanted to record still. So Rena, again, thank you for filling in. I will see you guys next week. I'm very tired, so I'm gonna go to bed.